What's up, gamers? Welcome to episode 4 of our developers play their own game. This is the Pedestrian, and we're going to continue where we left off. Last area was the downtown. It's been a while since we've done the next episode, but we thought now would be a good time because we're going to be launching on both of the PlayStations this month, and this is the PlayStation 5. So we're going to be playing on the PlayStation 5 today, and let's just get right into it. Here we go. I better get rid of this.
So, this will be the third time that you've used the train to go to a new area.
Yeah. So the train just took us from the downtown. We just arrived at what we call the university. Like, we have names for everything, but like it's not like it says it anywhere in the game.
Yeah.
It's just our way of identifying areas when we're communicating.
And I think this is out of all the areas, the music in this area is my favorite. Out of the whole game.
Yeah, see this one, like, nice. Most of the time when, like, Logan and I were going back and forth on, like, the style of music and stuff like that, like, he would try all kinds of different stuff and just experiment with things. And this one especially, he just went, like, full ham on experimenting with styles and different types of instruments and stuff, and like this is, I think, all of our favorite song. Pretty sweet.
Yeah. Going back to that terminology talk, it is always interesting, like when we come up with a word for something, and then when people are trying to describe a system or an object or something and they use the same word.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
It's always kind of funny. Like,
yeah.
We always call, like, when you go out into that, it's puzzle mode, and then some people call it different things, but some people actually call it puzzle mode.
Yeah.
And it's just like,
They'll like email us and they'll be like, "Oh, I have this problem in puzzle mode." I'm like, "What? How do you know?"
Or they say like edit mode or something like that.
Yeah.
It still makes sense, but it does sound funny.
Here, let's go into the Game Boy.
There's the Game Boy. Oh yeah, and like the what we call the progression objects in each area. Every hub has like an object that changes form every time you complete a puzzle. So this burrito right here, every time you complete a puzzle, there's a bite taken out of it until once the area is finished, the burrito has been eaten. Most people surprisingly don't even notice it, any of them in any of the areas. But we thought it would be kind of a cool way of showing that there's something else going on.
Yeah.
Which I think we may have mentioned in another episode before, but
yeah, just another indicator on how far they're progressing in the area, and hey, you're almost done. That was plus the like X's on the little sticky notes.
Yeah. Right. This puzzle, I remember this puzzle because we were play testing this puzzle with some friends, and I remember one of our friends thought that we were trying to trick them because we had this as a lever, and so it would constantly leave the jump pad on, so you'd turn it on, and so then when you'd loop back around, it would be on, but you wouldn't know. So then he would.
Oh, and then
you'd accidentally kill it. So that's one of those little changes that we did. So swapping this from through playtesting, we found that swapping this from a lever to a button worked, and it removed some of the headache of accidentally dying by having this on and accidentally touching it and hitting your head on the laser.
That is one of the things that we focused on, at least over time, with level development, is like the hard, difficult things, trying to keep them as close to the beginning of the solution as possible, so that if somebody dies and they reset, then it's not too big of an issue. in the past we had some that had some really long solutions, and then there was a hard like jump at the end or something.
Yeah.
And it's just like seeing people die there over and over, and it's disheartening. So we tried to avoid that as much as possible.
Yeah, because we're ultimately trying to make a very relaxing game, and it's not relaxing at all when you put like 10 minutes of work into something and then you make one mistake and you have to do it all again.
Yeah, because I feel like you were saying, Joel, like toward the beginning of making the game, we would make these huge sprawling levels, and we tended to get away from those through testing and everything, just because they didn't end up being fun.
The better we got at level design and just like game designers in general, the more we improved, the more we realized like, hey, this could just be tweaked a little bit and it would be better for everybody. So the next secret area, another.
Oh, and let me mention, this is our Kickstarter fella.
Oh yeah.
So the guy who came up with the hats idea.
Well, the books, all of the books.
The books.
Yeah, and he helped us design the hats, and he designed all the levels inside of the books. So we made a statue of him in the game. So let's see. Oh, actually, we haven't saved the hats that we've gotten so far.
Yeah, this is kind of, we've restarted but cheated our way.
Normally on a regular playthrough, you would have
different hats.
You would have more hat selections. So at this point, you would have had like
toggle through different ones.
How many hat options would you have? Like 6?
There was one book before this, right? No, there's 2. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, there would have been 6 hats.
Yeah.
I think this was the good hat pack.
The hat
pack. Yeah, so the way that the hats work is no matter which book you go to first, it always reveals the first 2 hats that are available. And then the next book you go to reveals the next, hat 3 and hat 4. So if you miss a book at the beginning, then you're going to get the beginning hats later in the game.
Right.
This level,
yeah,
I think we've changed like 3 times.
Yeah, this one has changed so much, and I think out of all the puzzles in our game, this is the one that I'm kind of the most I don't want to say disappointed in, but the most like bummed that people don't get it. Like,
oh, you're talking about like the whole sequence of doing it in one go.
I wanted it to be this cool thing where it's like, oh man, we're like taking advantage of depth portals to the max.
Sure.
Where you just do this quick like and you go down through. Most people don't really understand how that thing works at the beginning of the puzzle over there.
Yeah, and then
they just kind of like wiggle their way through in a really awkward way, and it doesn't feel cool. And they solve the puzzle, and they're like, "Well, I got through it, but it was weird." So, if I could have gone back and put a little bit more time in making this puzzle make sense and force them to do the cool thing, I think a lot of people would have enjoyed it more.
But one of the ideas behind this puzzle was using like physical objects to like bind the signs in particular areas. Like this sign here is completely trapped, so it basically can't move. You can move it a little bit just for adjusting, but and then these ones are stuck over here together, and then we have this one that kind of goes back and forth between these. So that was kind of the idea behind it, was to get to have a new perspective on the signs and force the signs into different areas of the map. So because I think it's the first time we do that.
Thrice.
Oh, you're right. Thrice does do it a little bit.
Yeah. Ooh.
Nice.
Got him.
Got your little drumstick.
Yeah. Or people think it's a what is it called, an air balloon?
A hot air. Oh, it does.
Hot air balloon.
We're getting out of here, boy.
So this area in particular, the university, I think it was probably about the time we were working on our Kickstarter, is when we were discussing to actually cut this area entirely, because we were at that point we were going over the game trying to decide, you know, our best plan of action going forward. You know, if we needed to cut anything, you know, change stuff. And I think there for a while wasn't this on like actually we actually put this on hold.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
While we were doing other things, thinking that we would probably get rid of it.
There were many stages through the production of the game that we had to kind of seriously evaluate what was important with the game and what was worth cutting, because it's funny that this made it in the game when we think about all the other things that we were going to put in the game. There was an airport, there was a neighborhood, there were all these areas that I had actually done some 3D art for even, and you know, I don't know if we can really even say why exactly we chose one over the other, but this one ended up to get the most attention, and I think that's how it ended up being in the game at the end.
Yeah, the university didn't, not the airport didn't necessarily have like a place within the context of the other areas. Like the university, we had always thought it would be between these two other areas, like
geographically.
I think we had even made a map at that point. So I think that may have been one of the reasons why we went with this versus like the airport, for instance.
Yeah, plus the airport, we were going to actually get on the plane and like land in another city, I think it was, and
That
then you
would've
go to
been
the
a lot.
skyscraper. And so yeah, just if you were at an airport and you never got on a plane, that would feel kind of like you're cheated.
Yeah.
And putting the plane in would have been a lot of work. And so it was kind of a easy cut, and that was somewhat early on.
Yeah. It's funny to think about how big the game was, like, years before we launched. And it's like, I think it's like that in every game studio. You have to constantly cut things from your game if you want to finish it.
Mm-hmm.
And we just had to keep trimming the fat until we kind of condensed it down into its most concentrated form of what it actually was. Especially because we're such a small team. Like, I mean, if there was like 10 people working on the game, we probably could have kept a lot of it in. But, you know, it forced us to really focus on what was important to define this game. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Here we go.
Nice.
Yeah. So I think out of all the areas too, this is the shortest area, and I think it probably was because because it was going to be cut, and when we decided to put it in, we decided to go kind of minimal with it.
Just in case.
Yeah.
We had to cut it.
This area was kind of whack. We had initially, before we decided on this kind of hub system where we had a central level and then it branched off to other puzzles, we actually had every single area had like a kind of like a goal to it, like some sort of mechanic that you had to do.
Yeah.
And for this area, we were gonna put a truck.
Oh yeah, the burrito's gone.
Is the burrito gone?
The burrito's gone.
Who ate the burrito?
Oh my word!
They left some beans.
They didn't clean up.
But yeah, so yeah, we had like
There was gonna be a truck right here.
Yeah, it was like a food truck, and the idea was there was a code on the side of the truck, but you couldn't see it because there was mud all over it. So you had to be able to turn on the sprinkler system and then access this one of the sprinklers so you could
Aim it at the truck.
Aim it at the truck. And Jed even made this mechanic where it's literally like shooting the sprinkler, and it would slowly wash away the mud on the side of the truck to reveal the code. And we were like, geesh Louise, this is a bunch of stuff, like not only systems for us to make, but things that the player has to kind of like learn and understand how to use.
Yeah, it's a lot of one-off stuff.
Yeah, just for this silly little thing. And yeah, so that was obviously cut.
Yeah, and so every single area, I don't know if we had figured out all the areas, but there was a handful of areas that we had figured out to do goofy things like that.
Yeah.
This is another little attention to detail. Like, I think Joel set this up. where like the wires on the tacks. I like that.
Yeah, everything we tried as much as we could. You know, there's too many things in games. I think obviously game designers are getting better at it nowadays, but games feel like games because it's like, oh, this thing happens because of a mechanic. It doesn't make sense in context of like the real world.
Yeah.
So we tried as much as possible to, even though this is a game mechanic, it still makes physical sense in the world.
Yeah, we definitely do have kind of game gimmicky things, but I think like Dana was saying, I think we're trying to keep those gimmicky things within the signs. So everything outside of the signs is possible.
Follows the rules of
Yeah.
science.
Yeah.
Here we go, baby. And we did it.
That was the area. And of course we always have like our couple of signs to exit the area.
Yeah.
Like our sign that says goodbye to the area, so you get to see pretty much everything and what you've done, which is always cool.
I remember something kind of interesting. A lot of these puzzles, we have very specific lighting to make the puzzle interesting.
Oh yeah.
So like this sign or the puzzle down there on the left that we beat, the brown one, that one we actually have. Those shadows aren't being cast from the actual trees here in the scene. We actually just have some random branches above the puzzle at a specific location, just casting the shadows. And we did that for a lot of the puzzles in this area and in other areas to make the lighting cool for them.
Yeah, just having like the contrast of shadow and light in each shot really helps things look interesting.
This is a
Nice.
little clever thing that Joel came up with to be able to, because every single time you finish an area, we want you to come back to the same sign just for simplicity for us, so that, and it kind of wraps things up because this is a sign that you were in initially
When you entered.
Yeah, coming from the train to the area, and now we want to make sure that you can still use the same sign but not get back to the beginning, because we don't want you to get confused and have to, and then you'll go back to the puzzle and you're like, wait a minute, I'm back at the hub.
Yeah.
So just to remove that entirely, he added this so that you can't get back up.
Exactly. All right. Well, cool. That was.
Code.
Here, let me do the train.
Okay. Oh yeah.
These codes for the trains are just random. I think we just...
Oh yeah.
Wow.
And it seems like
picked
Jed
up
always
random
picked
numbers.
like high numbers so that the player would have to like punch the button.
Well, I don't want to do like...
Yeah, there's a lot of 9s and 7s.
Shh, pish posh.
If there was a higher digit than 9, he would have done it.
Here we go, baby.
Huzzah.
So one of the things that we did for the PS5 specifically is that I can feel like the train moving.
Oh yeah, which we might like make a video on in the future talking about like the cool stuff that we did for PlayStation.
Yeah.
But yeah, the
think
PlayStation
that's
5 is Skookum approved. It's pretty sweet.
I like it. Okie dokie.
All right, that was the end
I
of
think
episode
that's it.
4. We just finished the university. The next episode, we will pick it back up in the inner city.
Mm-hmm.
See you guys later.
Thanks for watching.
See ya.
Bye.